Helljumpers, Chapter 8, The Raid of New Alexandria. Day 1, August 18th. On Earth. Listen up, squad, Mac shouted through his helmet microphone over the roar of the Falcon's engines. A few hours ago, the Covenant forces started an assault on New Alexandria. Evacuations have already been started, but they need more time. We're heading to the northern part of the city to stall the Covenant's assault, allowing the buildings behind us to be evacuated. Mac put a few markers down on his visor and highlighted a part of the city. Our drop point will be at the red waypoint. As evacuations proceed, we'll slowly pull back into the city towards Traxxas Tower. That's the extraction point. Everyone got that? A set of indicator lights in Mac's helmet, one for every member of the team, signaled that everyone understood. Good. Get everyone ready. We're almost there. The Falcons raced over to the city towards their destination. Explosions and flashes from plasma fire could be heard and seen coming from the streets below. Lowering their altitude, the craft came around a building, reaching the square where the group was going to be dropped off. It was full of Covenant. Open fire! Mac shouted as the 20mm cannons of the two Falcons opened up onto the aliens in the square. Combined fire from the turrets and autocannons quickly and efficiently cleared the square from any hostiles, allowing the squad to disembark. Alright, damn. Change of plans, everyone. Savage Woods, you're on overwatch. The rest of us are gonna check for survivors in the buildings before falling back into the city, Mac ordered. Tyler and Woods staying outside and taking up positions covering any entrances to the square. Twilight had gone into one of the buildings, Mac on her heels, holding her DMR and telekinesis as she swiftly checked room after room looking for survivors. The only thing they found were bodies. Human bodies. As Twilight got up to the top floor, she heard a sound from a room at the end of the hallway, slowly advancing with a rifle pointed at the open door. That was when she heard the sound of a charging plasma pistol in the room, followed by a scream. Cruising herself for being too slow, Twilight made a dash into the room, finding a jackal with a shield at the offending plasma pistol, facing two humans that were lying onto the ground. Not giving the jackal any chances to respond to her presence, she shot the creature 2 times, one bullet in its torso and another in the head for good measure. Quickly, she ran past the alien corpse to the 2 other humans, and no pulse. They had both taken the full plasma blast straight to the torso. Sparkle, status! Mac shouted through the radio as he heard the shots coming from the floor above. Green, found a jackal. The bastard just killed 2 civilians, Twilight replied, venom dripping from her voice, as she had just come a few seconds too late to save the humans. Damn. The rest of Mac's sentence didn't register in Twilight's mind as she heard a noise coming from the closet behind the 2 dead humans, holding her DMR and telekinesis, pointed at the closet. Quickly yanking the door open and pointing the rifle at the potential threat, an ear-deafening scream came from the closet as Twilight saw that she had a little girl in her crosshairs. As she continued to stare, the girl broke down, sobbing, thinking that the pony was gonna kill her. And Twilight, getting out of her little stupor, slowly approached the little girl, only causing her to try and sink into the wall further, and sob even harder. She attached the DMR to a clamp on her armor under her wing before removing her helmet. Hey, don't worry. I'm not gonna hurt you, she softly told the child, moving even closer to the point that she was next to her. The kid looked up at her, eyes red from the crying, and suddenly grabbed onto Twilight and started lightly sobbing again.
Mommy and Daddy said I had to stay in the closet and be quiet, she sobbed.
Twilight looked over at the parents. They had probably stepped in between the plasma bolt and the closet to save their daughter. Mac came walking into the room, looking around for a moment before spotting Twilight and the girl. Twilight, he said, gaining her attention. We need to move. If the Covenant already made it this far, then we might be overrun if we stay any longer. Twilight nodded before turning back to the girl.
Okay, can you walk? Yes,
the girl weakly answered. Twilight picked up her helmet and put it on again, and started guiding the girl out of the building, trying to keep herself between her and any bodies. Outside, they found that the others had already returned. So, found anything? Mac asked them. Lucy nodded.
2 squads of Marines. They died defending a group of civilians that were probably evacuating.
Damn. Okay, we're gonna go fall back to Point Alpha and see if we can find friendlies to extract her. Mac pointed to the little girl next to Twilight. After a round of nods, the group got moving at a moderate speed to make sure their civilian charge could keep up. On a few occasions, the group had to hide in buildings as Banshees and Phantom dropships came flying overhead. Coming up to another square, they could hear an exchange of gunfire and plasma fire, and Mac taking a quick peek of the square to see what they were up against. Oh, Fuck, they have a wraith, Mac said after getting back into cover, having seen the floating tank with a large plasma cannon. Alright, Woods, get a good position and take out any snipers you see. Sparkle, you're on marksman duty. Kill anything that doesn't die when Woods hits it. The rest of us will push up and try to kill the wraith with grenades. Mac ordered everyone before turning to the little girl. You stay put over there in that store. We'll come get you when we're finished. The girl nodded and sprinted into the building that she was pointed to, allowing the ODSTs to start doing their job. Woods now got into a good position, brought up a sniper rifle, aimed at a jackal sniper, and fired. The shot alerting the other aliens of the ODST's presence, causing a group to turn around to face the soldiers. A group of grunts charged the group, spraying them with the inaccurate fire. Scootaloo leaned from her cover, firing off controlled bursts from her SMG, taking down 2 grunts before dropping back into cover, plasma flying past where her head was moments before. Mac and Lucy also popped up from cover, putting short bursts into the grunts. Lucy also managed to hit a shielded jackal with her assault rifle.
The Wraith is still firing on those Marines!
Fuckers after the civilians! Tyler shouted back while firing his SMG, killing a jackal.
We need to lob a grenade into the thing to kill it, not enough firepower otherwise!
By this point, the square had been cleaned enough for the Marines to return fire between shots from the Wraith at their position. Another shot from Woods' sniper could be heard, and the shield of the elite in the gunner seat of the Wraith flared. Twilight immediately responded by putting 2 more rounds downrange, eliminating the gunner. But this drew the attention of the driver of the tank, and the Wraith turned around with alarming speed and fired off a shot at the cover where Tyler and Scootaloo were hiding. Scatter! Mac shouted, everyone dashing in a direction away from the blast zone, giving the Wraith 4 separate moving targets instead of 1 stationary one. The remaining grunts and jackals, seeing their chance to kill the ODSTs, started overcharging their plasma pistols, but with the lapse of fire from the Wraith and infantry, the Marines previously held up onto the building were now getting out of cover, opening fire onto the remaining aliens, mowing them down in seconds, leaving only the Wraith. Scootaloo stopped behind a new set of cover, hoping the Wraith didn't see her stopping. Peeking over her cover, she realized the mistake she had just made, as she was now the only stationary target for the Wraith to fire on, and it was taking it. A bolt of plasma fire erupted from the artillery piece in the tank, arching through the sky towards her, quickly starting to run again. A large wave of heat threw her off her hooves as the ball of plasma impacted the street behind her. Scootaloo got back on her hooves almost immediately as her armor protected her from any nasty bruises that she would have gotten from a fall like that. Shaking off the little daze that she had gotten, she looked over where the Wraith was.
Ah, horse apples.
The hulk of armor was using its boost to charge at Scootaloo to finish her off. Remembering what Tyler had said, she quickly pulled out a grenade and jumped back so the inertia of the Wraith wouldn't flatten her. The speed that the tank hit her at was still enough to knock the wind completely out of her, but she was able to activate the grenade and drop it into the driver's compartment via the gunner's seat. The movement of the tank immediately became erratic as the driving elite presumably tried to get the grenade out of the tank. Seconds later, an explosion could be heard from within the tank and plasma fire started erupting from the hull as the grenade took out the driver and important control systems. Scootaloo had already started running towards the Marines as she expected the Wraith to explode, which it did seconds later, and she was hurled towards the Marines and hitting the wall of the building that they were held up in.
Scoots!
Lucy shouted as she made a quick sprint to Scootaloo, sliding to a halt next to her biofoam at the ready to see if she had any injuries. Scootaloo, having been thrown around by an explosion twice and hit by something the equivalent of a train, only felt pain running through every bit of her body. She felt to her stomach turning, and she ripped off her helmet and threw up onto the street before lying down on her back.
Give me a few minutes,
she groaned. By this point, Mac, Woods, Tyler, and Twilight, with a little girl on her back, had also reached the building where the Marines were held up. Is she good, Lucy? Mac asked, the medic just finishing her inspection for shrapnel or burn marks.
Nothing external. She's probably the luckiest bastard in the entire galaxy,
Lucy answered.
By the way, Scoots, that move with the grenade was awesome. Just please, for the love of God, never do that again. I wasn't planning on it,
Scootaloo said as she begrudgingly got back onto her hooves. While the conversation was happening, a few of the Marines had been staring at the pony that had just taken out the Wraith, not believing that they had just been saved by a pony, of all things. Who's the highest ranking officer here? Mac asked one of the Marines that was staring at Scootaloo. Corporal Murray, he shouted to one of the Marines that was getting the civilians prepared to move. The corporal looked over in Mac's direction. Seeing the sergeant's stripes on Mac's torso, he quickly came over. So sir, what do you need? He asked Mac. Well, for one, I want to know where our front lines are. We dropped further north thinking that we were behind our own lines, only to find that there were Covenants scattered all over the LZ. Oh, you dropped further up north? Damn, we got hit hard out there. Our lines are at least a block further back south, if not more. Mac nodded and activated his radio. Starfire, do you copy? Seconds later, Zoe's voice could be heard coming from the radio.
Loud and clear. Need a ride, Sarge?
Not me. We need an exfil for a group of civilians. Can you possibly swing by with the Pelican?
Copy that. I'll be there in 15.
Lucy responded. Mac put away the radio and turned back to the Corporal. Corporal, get the square secure. We got a Pelican inbound, he shouted. Corporal Murray immediately got the Marine securing the square, eagerly awaiting the arrival of the Pelican. 15 minutes later, the Pelican landed in the middle of the square and loaded the civilians. The troop compartment was a little overcrowded, but nothing the Pelican couldn't really handle.
I'll take them to the starport. They've been loading civilian transports for evac,
Zoe told Mac.
I don't know for how long I'll be able to operate. The Covenant had been setting up AA turrets on rooftops, and Banshee squadrons have begun appearing in force.
Well, then you better get back up there before flying becomes impossible, Mac said.
Will do,
Zoe answered before spotting Scoots.
Oh, hey, Squirt. Oh, you look like shit,
she shouted.
Tends to happen when a Wraith tries to roadkill you,
Scootaloo shouted back.
Wait, what? Okay, I've got to hear the story when we have time.
Zoe shouted again as she got back into the Pelican and blasted off.